Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Loan Officer Wealth Podcast. And man, do I have a treat for you today. We have my good friend, Carl White, on the show today. Hi, Carl.
How you doing, brother? Yeah, everybody needs that special friend, and you always tell me, Carl, you're just so special. I think, wait, did I say something wrong or something here? It's like I
In the
don't know
best
what
way.
I don't know what I'm talking about. I had my herbal tea this morning, and it just it has me in a chippery mood this morning. And
Well,
dude,
we,
and dude, I'm on your podcast. I've been calling your producer, please, please, please. I want to be known. I want to be somebody. And until you've been on the Loan Officer Wealth podcast, you've kind of made it, but not quite. So I am now. It's like going on the Tonight Show or something. It's like my life is now complete. So it's good to be here. But
well, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Good to have goals. And for all y'all listening, I just want to set this up properly because whatever it is that you're doing right now, don't half listen to this podcast. So I've known Carl for easily over a decade and have worked very closely with him. And y'all know that I'm big in personal development, self development. I spend tens of thousands of dollars a year in masterminds to be around people that are smarter than me, further ahead than I am. So I'm around successful business people all of the time. I have never met anyone in my entire career that has changed more lives than Carl White. In the mortgage industry, I have not met anybody that has created more millionaires, more success stories, and more people with freedom from their business and being able to actually work 9 to 5, take Fridays off, not pick up the phones on the weekends. I've never met anybody that has made such a transformational impact on people's lives than Carl. So listen up. This is going to be incredible.
that's really humbling, brother. So I know she left out good looking, but there's a good reason because you're a man of integrity. So
Well, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet.
yeah,
So let me also say this. So, Carl, what we see oftentimes in business is that people can teach things and they're really good teachers. And then there are people that are in the business actually doing it and being successful. And it is a unicorn that can do both. And Carl runs, I believe, the largest training program, the Freedom Club and Mortgage Marketing Animals, helping loan officers find that life of freedom. But he is also one of the most successful branch managers in the nation and is in the trenches every single day, producing hundreds of millions of dollars in mortgage volume every year. So this
you
is
know, you know where
not.
that, you know where that, and by the way, it's billions, just as an FYI.
Thank you.
So, dude, did you, you know what? I was thinking about this, man. It's like, I do love teaching. I love it. And I love the doing part also. I really do. And I think where it comes down from, I don't know if I've ever shared this with you. Literally, growing up, I wanted to be a high school teacher.
I
Like
did not know
I
that.
did. I didn't. I wanted to be a high school teacher. And the reason why I chose high school is I didn't want the younger kids because their head is so they're the heads are full of mush just yet. And I know they're developing, right, of becoming who they are. But I wanted to catch them after they knew who they are, and then those that said, "I want to achieve greatness." To be a part of their story starting at a young age like that, I thought would be fantastic. And I wouldn't want to teach like, and these are all great subjects, right? I'm not one bad, that's my little backdoor clause, but I wouldn't want to teach like English or basic math. I'd want to teach something that was an elective, like, I don't know, like physics or I don't know, like, and not necessarily a science per se, but something that they went, I want to be in that class, not I got to check off that box.
Yeah.
And then so when I started writing loans and found a knack for it, and then how it all started, actually, I had the owner of my company back then, or not, wasn't my company, it was his company, the owner of the company I worked with as a branch manager, which is Family First Mortgage. And his name was Greg Hill, who's since retired, by the way. Called me one day and said, "Hey man, you're our number one out of 336 branches. You're number one." And this was 1 year in the business, by the way. And he said, "Hey, would like you to, we have a sales summit that we have every year, and would like you to come share what you're doing." It's like, sure, okay. So I went and shared it, and I enjoyed it. Right, I went, hey, this is kind of that high school teacher thing. And the reason why I didn't become a high school teacher, I'm a bit shallow, perhaps, but frankly, it was the income. Just
Yep.
being totally honest. I saw what they made, and I hold them up in the highest esteem. Like
Mhm.
all teachers, I think, of in our education system, I definitely put on a pedestal. But especially that they do it for the pay that they get, right?
That's right.
So they give up a lot of things. I'm just a little bit more shallow than them, and I didn't want to give up all those things. And so anyway, that's but you know what? Nobody really cares about all that stuff. What they really want to know, Chris, is I'm in this market. What in the heck is going on?
Yes.
Where are we going? And am I okay? That's the
Yep.
real question. Nobody gives a rat's butt that I want to be a high school teacher or how I got started or anything. They want to know, where am I at? Where are we going? And what do I do? And do I even stay in this profession? Frankly, I'm hearing a little bit of that.
Yep.
You want to talk
And
about that for a few minutes?
yeah, absolutely. Because on Facebook, I saw a post that you posted out. It was a testimonial from, it wasn't something that you put out. It was something that just randomly a member of the Freedom Club came out and posted their numbers. And they're growing right now. And
Yeah,
not only that, but he just took a month's vacation to
yeah,
spend with his family.
yeah.
His systems, his business ran and grew while he was gone. And he's still growing his business in today's market conditions. So I would love to know what is the conversation that's happening behind closed doors with you and the branch managers that are working in your branch? What are you telling them about the market and what's going on right now?
So in my own branch with my loan officers and also with the high level people that are loan officers, which are loan officers, branch managers, even company owners in our Freedom Club mastermind, I tell you, it's all the same conversation. The look. I go for a bike ride every morning. You know that, a
Yep.
bicycle, right? I go for a bicycle ride every morning. Been doing it ever since when COVID started. The streets were empty. I thought, hey, I think I'll go ride a bike, right? And man, I freaking love it. Like I just
Yeah.
love it. So I do it every morning, rain or shine. I love it every morning. And the lovely Mrs. White, who is in much better shape than me, she does yoga like 5 times a day, kind of stuff. She goes with me from time to time too. But because I ride so much more than her, I have a little bit higher of a pace than what's comfortable for her. And so she went and got a little electric bike.
Yep.
And on the electric bike, you can set it so it pedals at 20% and you're 80%. So you're most of it by far. You're 80%, it gives you a 20% boost. So about, I don't know, a month ago, I guess, something like that, I thought, well, I'm going to try riding that little thing. So I got on it. It looks like a regular bike, right? I got on it. And when you turn it on, it automatically is at that 20% boost. And I'm riding it. And I'm going, gosh, I can't even feel it, right? I guess 20% is not that much.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm riding. I'm going a little faster than I normally do, but not significant. I'm thinking it might be the boost or I'm just extra good today, right? That's because I couldn't feel it helping out. Like I couldn't
Right.
feel it helping out. And I was about, I don't know, 8 miles into my ride. And I'm even going to use this now. I turned it off. Dude, I thought I put the brakes on. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. In fact, it was so much, I thought something was wrong with the bike. I stopped it. I picked up the wheels and spun them to make sure that the motor wasn't somehow, like I wasn't recharging the battery by, a generator or something. And I'm powering this generator. Man, I want to tell you, it felt like somebody put the brakes on. Like it really felt like somebody grabbed the back of my bike and was holding me back. Like it was a
Yeah.
massive difference. And the wheel spun, I get back on, it was like, holy cow, it's amazing what that little bit, let's call it a tailwind,
Mm-hmm.
did. So let's transition that into the mortgage business now. We've all been, myself included, by the way, we've all been patting ourselves on the back for the last, 2-3 years of how amazing we are, how smart I am, what a great marketer I am. I think last year I did $2 billion. My team did $2 billion of production. Actually, that's not exactly. I think we were like $30,000 short of 2 billion. So it's just under like
I'll give it to
literally.
you.
I almost went and bought a new mansion to get my 30 million to hit the 2 billion. Right? It was close. It was close because it was a dream of mine, to hit that kind of a number. Anyway, so we've been all patting ourselves on the back how amazing we are when we're coasting downhill with a 50-mile-an-hour tailwind. And
Yep.
let me tell you what's just happened this year. We don't have a headwind. We
Right.
don't even have a challenge. It's just our tailwind, our boost went away, and we forgot how to pedal a bicycle. That's
Yep.
what's the problem is.
Hmm.
So if you actually look at the purchase market for this year, the purchase market for the year 2022, as we're recording this, the end of 2022, from a purchase standpoint, purchase volume nationwide, it's one of the best years ever.
Yep.
Best years ever. We just lost that 20% boost,
Yep.
and we forgot how to pedal. So, dude, I literally was going to check my mail one day, and I've had the same mailman for, I don't know, 7 years, right? And I don't know, once every 2 months, I'm walking out there. He comes at like 4:30 every day, right? And I don't know, once every month, once every couple of months, something like that. As I'm walking up, he's coming up and he just hands it to me, right? We get there at the
Hmm.
same time because I've used about 4:30 to go. Anyway, so I'm walking my mailbox. He's coming up. And I'm like, oh, cool, just by chance. So I walk up to the gate, open the gate, go out to the mailbox, and wait for him. And he pulls up and he said, "How you doing, Carl?" I said, "I'm doing. I don't even know what his name is, right? I just, I call him Buddy. I said, I'm doing pretty cool." See, he cheats. He sees my name on my mail. I
Yeah.
don't, I don't look at his mail, right? And he said, "How you doing, buddy?" I said, "How you doing, buddy?" He said, "I'm doing good." Hey, Carl, I don't mean to be personal here, but I see the mail that you get in. You're in the mortgage business, aren't you? And I go, I am. He said, I thought so. He said, "Hey, me and the missus are thinking about refinancing our home, and want to know maybe if you could help us, or at least point us in the right direction." I'd love to talk to you about that. So literally last year, literally, I was checking my mail, and I get somebody wants to refinance their home.
Yep.
And so the point being, it was falling out of the sky. When you can go check your mail and a loan comes in, I mean, it's a very special time. That's not happening now. We forgot how to prospect.
Yeah.
We forgot how to do outbound activity. We were so busy training up our team and how do we get more production, or not more production, how do we handle the production that we have? We've got all these leads coming in. We don't have time to call them. We're getting help to meet us with the leads. Same thing, the real estate agents are falling over each other. I mean, it was a really, really, really good time. When the tailwind goes away and the winds go calm, not a headwind, they just go calm, and we're not zooming down a hill, not having to pedal to go, 90 miles an hour. We feel like, dude, what happened? Let me tell you what happened. We are now like all salespeople selling all products. We have to actually, prospect,
Yep.
right? Which is a new word for us in the last 3 years. When I go around the country asking people how many hours they prospect, one of my famous questions, Chris, I know you've heard this 100 times. What's the number one thing you do that makes you most of your money? What's the one single activity that you do that makes most of your money? And most people, some of the, hey, I do social media to get my leads that way. So I teach classes, I get leads that way. I meet with realtors, I get leads that way. But then when I ask, all right, how many hours, minutes, if any, did you do that all of last week? The average answer nationwide is 0. I do
Yep.
that 0. And yet I'm still closing loans. That's not normal. Right. I
Hmm.
mean, normally the only person that does 0 prospecting and makes a lot of sales, frankly, is the crack dealer on the corner. I mean, that's the when they say it sells itself, I guess that's one of those very rarities, not that we're recommending that, obviously, but every other product, we got to sell it.
Yep.
Right. We got to sell it. And we simply forgot how to do it. And I think a lot of loan officers they forgot, and now they're afraid. And
Hmm.
what it is, they've been sitting in the lounge chair, so to speak, right? Get with palm fronds and somebody peeling grapes and feeding them. Me too, by the way, right? Me too. When then suddenly I have to go, okay, now you got to go back to work now of prospecting. Most of the time, prospecting, it feels uncomfortable, right?
Yep.
It doesn't feel normal. And I honestly think we forgot how to do it. And we try to complicate things. It's like, dude, just go prospect. However that is, whether that's with your social media, whether that's doing your videos, teaching classes, coffee appointment, like whatever that is, however you got your last 10 loans in, how'd you do that? Go do that more and do everything else less, right?
Yes.
It's just that simple. So that's the conversations. I think we're in a good time right now. What's going to happen I heard, who was it? I think it was Brian Stevens. That guy's been him and Frank Gray both been very, very, very dear friends for a long time and very helpful for me. But I think it was Brian was saying, here by the end of the next quarter, half the mortgage companies are going to be closed and half the loan officers are going to be doing something else.
Yep.
And I'm not much of a doom and gloom guy, right? It's just not my style. I stay on the very positive. I think he's absolutely right. We're seeing it already.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think those of us that know how to prospect or at least willing to learn how to prospect and go out and do it, we're going to do fine. Because what you're going to find is those that don't, which is going to be half of them, they're going to be gone.
Yep.
And that competition, well, they never were competition, right? They're
right.
gone. They're out of it. There's half of us left that it's going to be a good time for us. We saw this same thing, Chris. You were around doing this stuff. So was I in the 07, 08, 09 crash.
Yep.
That, all the part-timers and got their loans strictly by going out and checking the mailbox and didn't prospect, just, handed out a couple business cards and people start calling them. They went out of business, and those that knew how to prospect, we did very, 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 very well at that time. And I think we're going to see the same things this time. I had a guy call me up. I was talking to a guy 2 days ago, and he said, well, Carl, I don't like prospecting. What do I do? I said, all right, man, totally cool. Hey, you don't have to prospect. Here, I got an idea. So we're on a Zoom meeting, like you and I are recording on a Zoom meeting right now. So we're on a Zoom meeting, and I said, here, let me share my screen. So I open up my screen. He's looking at it. He's where he is. I'm at my office. And I said, let me go to this website. And I went to Indeed.com. Right. I said, we need to look for another job, man. Because if you don't like prospecting, brother, we need to get busy doing something. Because if you're not going to do this, then you need to, go get, quote, a real job, which always infuriates me. Anytime somebody said, well, I might have to go get a real job. Treat this like a real job, and you can make hundreds of thousands or literally millions. I know a lot of loan officers this year that are making over $1 million W-2 income. I'm not talking about company owners. I'm talking about loan officers. The highest one that I personally know of is awesome guy, Corey Kavanowski, up down in San Diego.
Yep.
I think he made, I hope he's okay with me saying this. I think he made, I think it was like 6.2 million last year. So big money in this stuff.
Oh yeah.
But Corey treats it like a real job. I was talking with Tammy Saul the other day. Her purchase business is up 66% this year.
Yes.
This year over year, her purchase business is up 66%. Is she doing fewer refis? Well, of course.
Yep.
Right, of course. But 66% of her purchase business increase, right? How? She's prospecting. Yep. So those that prospect are willing to learn how to prospect are going to do very well. Those that, well, I don't want to do that, right? You don't have to.
Yep.
There's a great website called Indeed.com, and that's where their help wanted ads are. We need to start looking at. And I'm not saying this to be funny. We need to start looking at them, right? Because we forgot how to prospect, Chris.
And so, Carl, when it comes down to that, and you've got somebody that's having a bad day, and they're willing to do the work, they want to succeed, they want to be in the business, and they come to you and they're like, Carl, I'm overwhelmed. Where do I start? What should I start at prospecting? Where do you see results coming from in today's market? What should they be focused on?
The first thing I would do, Chris, because there's more than one. Look, I got my way that I skin a cat. Mm-hmm. No actual cats are skinned during this demonstration, of course. I've got 2 cats, so actually they're hairless cats.
Hairless cats. I was just
they look like they've been skinned, but they come out of the womb looking like that, right? I simply asked, how'd you get your last 10?
Yep.
And whether that took a day, a week, a month, or all of last year, what'd you do to broaden those 10? Do more of that, less of everything else. Most of the time, like the first thing we need to do oftentimes is stop doing a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not about doing 1,000 different things. It's about doing like 1 or 2 things and doing those really, really well and doing those often.
Yes.
So whatever brought in your last 10 loans, And whether it was social media, whether it was coffee appointments, whether it was videos, whether it was flying a banner plane over the Tampa Stadium, like whatever that was, do more of that. I'm a coffee guy,
Yep.
right? I'm a coffee guy, but I know, look, there's other people doing other things, doing very well with it. So whatever, you just have to be honest with yourself, like what's really working. Like for me, hey, I'm gonna tell you something, man. So I was talking with a buddy of mine, Todd, the other day. He owns Summit Mortgage, right?
Okay.
So super nice guy. And we were talking the other day, and he brought something up that reminded me of a conversation I had about 35 years ago, maybe 40. I was, I don't think I've ever shared this one with you. I was, my college job was a butler. I was a butler for this very, very wealthy man, right?
Huh.
I wasn't really a butler. I tell everybody, but I was really more of a hired companion. That sounds weird, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't weird at all. Like, it wasn't weird at all. Honestly, I think he paid me just to have a friend around to talk to, right? It was never anything weird. Had a wife, she was fine, but he was just very, very wealthy, very successful, somewhat lonely,
Yep.
81-year-old businessman, right? I think I was like a nephew to him or something like that. Whatever. Anyway,
Huh.
so he didn't drive anymore because he wasn't, he didn't feel safe to drive at 81, and he wasn't in physical shape to be able to do that. And so we had just come back from lunch. He had a Rolls Royce, which I loved driving that thing, right? It was really cool. And we pulled into the garage, and he gets out of the car, and I get out of the car, and he sits on the front fender of his car. He says, "Carl, grab a chair. I want to talk to you about a couple things." Okay. There was no chair in his garage. So it was like literally one of those old metal trash cans. So I pulled up that trash can, and I sat on, I'm kind of leaning and sitting on the trash can. And he says, "Carl, there's 4 things that you always want to, he called it monitor. So you and I would call it measure. 4 things you always want to measure." He says, "Number 1, how many customers are coming in your store? Number 2, how much are they spending?
Yep.
Number 3, how many hours did you work to make that happen? Number 4, how much money did you save? What was the difference in your net worth at the end of this month and the month before?"
Yep.
So just the other day when I was talking with Todd, he brought it. It's funny. He brought up those same 4 questions, but it was slightly different. It was, "Carl, we need to get these loan officers to measure 4 things: how many leads they're getting," which was George's customers coming in the door.
Yep.
"How many of those leads are turning into contracts?" Because that's going to give us our conversion ratio. Like if we got a high conversion ratio, let's say, and for me personally, my numbers is 1 in 4. If you give me 4 referrals, I'll close a loan. About half of them are closable.
Right. Yep.
But the other half, they just went 1099. They don't make enough money, credit issues. The property they're buying is weird, or I don't, they're wanting to buy 100 acres, and I don't loan on land. Like, something's either they're not right, or the property's not, or maybe they ghosted us. You gave me a referral. I called the dude. He never called me back. I called a handful of times, never called me back, whatever. So about half of our leads we pre-approve, and they're good to buy a house. And then we close about half of those.
Okay.
The half that we don't close, some of them shop me. Some of them end up not buying after all. They change their mind, whatever. They end up buying 6 months later, whatever.
Yep.
So if I'm getting 4 leads and 1 closing, I'm in pretty good shape, right? That's my world. So 25% is pretty good. That's 25% isn't like amazing. That's just like, that's pretty good, right? You're doing pretty good. Just as an FYI, if it's a Google search where they searched you out and contacted you, those run about 17%. Still pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Right. Pretty darn good. And so anyway, so if my leads to closing is running about 25%, I don't need to work on that. That's in pretty good shape.
Right.
So then I just need to work on more leads. If it's less than that, I need to figure out, where am I dropping the ball? Am I getting leads but no conversations? It means I got a follow-up problem, or I'm getting a bad source of leads. If I'm having conversations but not doing credit pulls, I've got a scripting problem. Like they're saying, "Well, I don't want you to pull my credit yet," or whatever. I got a scripting problem. If I'm getting leads coming in, I'm having conversations, I pull their credit and they're not pre-approvable, I got a source problem. Like wherever I'm getting those leads is a bad source. If I'm getting leads, having conversations, pulling credits, they're pre-approvable and I'm not getting contracts, I've got a follow-up and scripting issue, right? So you figure out like what's your issue there. But if I've got one closing 4 leads, I don't need, like, I'm good there. Like, don't work on improving that, work on getting more leads. How do you get more leads? What was that activity you do that brought them in the first place? Again, for me, it's our theme days, coffee, calling agents for coffee on Monday, calling those people that's in our loan process on Tuesday, giving them an update, asking them, do you have any friends, family, coworkers looking to buy, sell, or refinance? Love to work with your friends too. Wednesday, calling our past database, and Thursday, calling our pre-approved and lookings to make sure we're not just pre-approving people, we're actually get them into a contract too. So that's the way that I do it. And I tell you why I've always done it that way, Chris. Like I've always done it that way. I've dabbled in different things, but I always keep coming back to that because 67% of all home buyers use the mortgage company their realtor referred, 67%. So I've got a river that flows from north to south. If you're paying me to paddle a boat 10 miles today, why in the world would I try to paddle upstream when I can paddle downstream? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. I'm like a feather in the wind, man. I like whatever's easy and pays well. That's what I want to do. So instead of trying to recreate or instead of trying to reflow the Mississippi River, like to me, the real estate agents, like, man, a lot of people say, well, I don't want to work with the realtors. I don't want to work with, dude, they're a free army of salespeople working for you for free. Oh, I might buy them coffee, right? I might, I don't know, buy lunch or something like that, like whatever's RESPA compliant, of course, but they're free. So I've got this free army of people out getting my leads for me. And by the way, it's not one source, because if I just have Realtor Lisa, that's one source. But as soon as I get Realtor Bob also, a Realtor Sam also, a Realtor Debbie also, now I've got 5, 6 sources that if one dries up, I've got the other 4 or 5. So it's incredibly diverse. It's free, and they're doing all the work of finding my prospects for me. That when I prospect to this one agent, that agent's prospecting to 300. So if I'm prospecting to 3 agents, I've got 900 people that I'm prospecting through those 3, as long as I'm prospecting to those that actually have something done. Brian Stevens said something the other day that it surprised me, and it shouldn't have. He said, I think there's like 1.4 million real estate agents. 800,000 of them haven't closed a deal this year.
Whoa.
That's a shocking number. 1.4 million, 800,000 of them have not closed one deal. So I need to find that small subset that's actually closing deals monthly, prospect to those. Likely when somebody says, well, I prospected realtors, that didn't work, or they told me not to call them anymore, it's because they didn't have any deals. Right? You're bothering them because you don't have any deal. Those that have deals, you're not bothering them, you're helping them because they want to turn that lead into a contract, and you're the one that does that. Right? You're not pestering the people that actually has business. You're their new best friend. They need some help. And their number 1 complaint is we don't close on time. Number 2 complaint is I don't know what's going on in the loan process. Number 3 complaint, I send over a lead, I never hear back from them. So you're solving a problem of them. You just have to make sure you're talking to the right ones. So for me, it really goes back into that. But dude, I love social media. I know a good handful of our loan officers in the Freedom Club are doing podcasting. Where they're doing a podcast directing to real estate agents. So that when they call the real estate agent for the coffee, when theirs is a pre-approval letter that comes across that realtor's desk, they go, oh, I know Chris. I see him all the time. And it's because you become industry famous through social media ads, podcasting, YouTube, like all those different places. So all that stuff definitely goes into a place. But prospecting, you just got to remember what it feels like to pedal a bike. You got to remember what it is a prospect. And if you look at what's the number 1 thing I do that makes me most of my money? And it's not closing on time, by the way, because something happened for that lead to come in for you to close on time. So if they go for like, what's the source of your referrals? Like, how'd you get those referrals to begin with? Just simply do more of that. Figure out what is that activity and do more of that. And if you're doing anything less than, say, I'd say at a bare minimum, 10 hours a week of that activity, whatever that is, and getting ready for it doesn't count, you've got a problem,
Yep.
right? But I want to let you know that when you do that, we're seeing zero exceptions. It's working out incredibly well.
Yep.
Like, it's working out really, really, really well.
Yeah.
So those that are actually doing it are doing well. Those that are sitting going, well, that doesn't work, that won't work, that won't work. Well, you know what? You're right. You're right about that on you.
Yep. And
But not on me, because it's working on me.
that's it. And
Yeah.
Carl, oh man, thank you for being so generous with your time. This is absolutely phenomenal. And I know the answer to this question, and I think we've said it in the episode, but it hasn't been like, I want to hit everybody right between the eyes with this. So your system works. I've seen it. I've lost count of the number of times that I have seen it, and exactly what you've laid out here today is it. But what is the difference? Because you're the exact same system that you use to close billions of mortgages, you give away for free in your trainings, and you teach essentially to your competitors in your coaching program.
Yeah.
So everybody's running the same system. What is the difference in the because it's the same system, so the difference is the people, right? Person A gets the system, has phenomenal results. Person B gets the exact same system, exact same information, but doesn't, and says it doesn't work. What is you found to be the difference between those people? What is the thing that people need to be aware of up here that's going to be the difference between success and failure?
You have to actually do it. Right. So I can buy a book on how to bake a cake, but it's not until I get the flour in the mixing bowl and mix it up and throw it in the oven. Because you're right, I can have the exact same recipe as you, but if you actually crack open some eggs and make that omelet, and I just sit there and look at the eggs, the eggs aren't going to cook themselves.
That's right.
Right. So I've seen zero instances of somebody opening the book, doing it, and not having great success. Like, no little asterisks, no little, your results rate may vary. I've literally never seen it not work. I've seen people quit. I've seen people quit, but I've never once, like literally never. And brother, I've seen some challenging people, and I'm not saying this to be funny, right? But I've seen some challenging people. I've seen some major introverts where it worked really well with. I've seen young, I've seen, and I can say this because I'm hitting there. I've seen older. I've seen skinny, heavy, all races, all ages, all ethnic groups. I've seen people that have they're challenged with English, right? Because they come from another country. I've seen people aesthetically challenged, like maybe something had an accident or something, or they talk funny. I had one guy go through had a very challenging stutter. Like this, it was severe. The first time I heard him, I actually thought he was doing a very inappropriate joke. Like I thought he, and about 30 seconds into it, I went, "Oh, dude, this is how he talks," and it was extremely challenging. And the dude did really, really, really well, because he didn't let that get in his way. Yes. And he just followed the program, and he just did it. So I think what you just have to want it, man. And for me, I know we're running a little over here, but for me, the bottom line is, I want everybody to write down what's some things that you want to do. Do you want your kids to graduate college without student loans? That vacation you want to send you and your wife, or you and your husband, or you and your girlfriend or boyfriend, or whatever. All these things that you want to do with you and your friends and family, literally write them on a board. And then when it comes time to, okay, now it's time to prospect. Well, I don't feel like doing it, because I don't feel like doing it sometimes too, right? Yeah. But then I look at my board and I go, Maria and I are going back to Europe here in the spring, right? So that's on my calendar. So here on Monday morning, when it's time for me to do my prospecting, I go, I don't feel like doing it. I now have to, if I'm not going to prospect, I'm going to give up money. If I give up money, it means I can't spend some money. So I need to go up to my board now and get a red marker and put a red marker that I'm drawing that line through that thing I want to help my daughter with. I'm going to draw my line through this college kid that we're helping put through college that otherwise his family couldn't make that happen. We're helping put him through college. I'm drawing a line through the Angelus house where we make we participate in this home for severely mentally handicapped adults. I'm gonna put that line through this vacation. I'm gonna have to go look my wife in the eye and say, honey, we can't do that vacation because I don't feel like prospecting. What I found is, Chris, I'll let me down, but brother,
Mm,
I'll never let you down.
yeah.
Right. So when
Mhm.
if on that board I put, well, I want to get another Rolex, it's like, well, whatever. I
Yep.
like I need another one, it's like whatever. But if I have to go look at my daughter or my son and say, oh, I know you needing help with this thing, I can't do it because I chose not to make my calls today. You're on
Yep.
your own. That's not, as long as there's air in my lungs, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's making those commitments to other people, and maybe even doing a contract with my family that I need some help holding me accountable to do this, because talking about the lovely Mrs. White, honey, I will never let you down. Right. I'm
That's
not going to
right.
let you down. I've made some big screw ups in my past. Right. I have.
Mhm.
And I've let her down in the past. Right. I've not prospected. I've let her down on personally. Right. I mean, it's part of life. But if anything I can do to not let her down, and it's simply prospecting, making phone calls, I got to look her in the eye and say, we can't have this thing that we want to do because I'm not willing to prospect. That's not going to happen. And so I think you just have to, you have to want it bad enough and realize, once you do this activity, what does that enable you to do? Write that down.
Yes.
And then when you don't feel like doing it, go get a black marker and strike through those things. I got to let this guy down, Chris. You and Robin, we're talking about coming out here, or we're going to meet somewhere. I'm going to let you down now. I can't go because I'm choosing not to do my past database call. That's not going to happen. So
Yeah.
anyway, I know we're running late, buddy, but
No,
always love
it's
to.
all good. But right there, folks, that'll make you unstoppable. Carl, where do people go to find more information about, like, how do they connect with you? How do they find out about the Freedom Club?
You know, we do a thing called the Loan Officer Breakfast Club.
Nice.
That's probably the best way to do it. It's totally free. There's no charge for it. If you just go to loanofficerbreakfastclub.com, and we meet every Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 9. There's about 300 to 400 these days loan officers on a Zoom call, just like this, a big Brady Bunch thing, and they're sharing their wins. Here's what's working. Here's what's not. Here's my challenge. People pipe up and look to help them with their challenge. Very motivating. Just a really good cool cats. It's actually led by our dear friend Frank Garay, from the old Frank and Brian show. So Frank's doing this now. And so yeah, loanofficerbreakfastclub.com. No charge for it whatsoever. And if you I think it asks that it's for loan officers only. So it might ask you, are you a loan officer? And then we'll send you the Zoom, but you got to give us email so we know where to send the Zoom. And
Right.
then we'll text you the Zoom too, because sometimes the email gets in a spam
Yep.
folder or something. So we'll text you the link to the Zoom too. It's no charge whatsoever, and join 300-400 of us every morning on the Loan Officer Breakfast Club. But more important than that, Chris, what do we want the listeners to do with you today?
Well, I would absolutely love a 5-star review on iTunes for this podcast because, man, it's worth it. That content that you just shared, Carl, if the cost of that is 2 minutes of time to head on over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review for the podcast, I sure would appreciate it. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you
It's
being.
the only decent thing for our listeners to do here. You've just I mean, Chris, dude, you've been bringing stuff to the table for a long time, and all you're asking is for them to take their fingers, swipe a couple buttons, leave that review, and it helps get the algorithm, get the word out even more. And so as you're listening to this episode, stop right now. It literally takes about 45 seconds. Leave that review. So I know Chris would appreciate, not appreciate it for Chris. You're an awesome dude, buddy.
Thank you, Carl. I appreciate your friendship. And man, I can't wait till we get to meet again.
All right, talk soon.